Hello YouTubes, so this video is going to be quite different from normal. I'm a little bit nervous, but as they say, variety is the spice of life, and I do hope that some of you are going to enjoy this and maybe it will bring in some new viewers. But I'm not only a marine biologist, there are other aspects in my life, and one of those aspects is that I am quite creative. I love to paint, I love to draw, but sometimes it's really difficult to find times to do these things. So towards the end of last year, I discovered something that has completely changed my life, and that is bullet journaling. And this allows me to be both creative and productive at the same time. So today I'm going to show you how I bullet journal, how it's working for me as a PhD student, a scientist, an academic. So I'm going to flip through how I set up my bullet journal for 2018, and then I'll flip through my January month as well, so you can see how it's working for me. So this is my bullet journal. It's a really nice A5 size. Unfortunately, my bunny rabbit's already got hold of one of the corners, but there's not much I can do about that. So what I love about these journals is they have this sort of dotted grid layout, and this really helps you to stay in a straight line if you need, but it also allows you the freedom to be quite creative, which is what I really, really love about these journals. So I started off with a Uni Future Log because I don't use Facebook for birthdays and I don't really have a calendar on my phone or computer, so this just allowed me a place where I could put down all my birthdays and all the important dates that were happening throughout the year so that I could keep track of what I needed to keep track of. This year was also the first time I did goal setting, and I just thought it was the right time in my life that I really worked towards something. So I split this up into professional and personal goals, and along with each of my goals I put an action plan, because I do believe your goals need to be quite specific in order for you to accomplish them, and you have to have sort of steps that you can take in order to accomplish your goals. And then on the side I just put a really cool quote in case I was feeling unmotivated, or it sort of really helps me to push myself to accomplish whatever I want to accomplish. And it was the first time I got to work with my watercolors, and I'm really happy with the way this page came out. I also did a separate plan for my PhD because your PhD is like a really big long-term project, so sometimes it's difficult to keep track of what you need to do throughout the year. And specifically for me, because I plan to hand in my thesis by November, I really have to make sure I'm working at a consistent progress, that I can accomplish everything by November. So as you can see, I've written this in pencil because sometimes things take longer than you think, sometimes they take shorter than you think, but this really just helps me to have an overall view of what I need to be doing for every week and every month so that I can reach this deadline by November. I also did a very cool online survey. It was called a VIA survey. I'll link it down below, but it just helps you to highlight what your most important values are in life, because I do believe again that your goals should be aligned to your values, and that what you spend your time on should be what you value most in life. And I think that's the way you'll become your happiest and most successful self. So I just wrote my top 10 goals so that I can refer back to them and make sure that what I'm spending my time on is what is aligned to my values and what's going to make me the happiest. So moving on to January, my first monthly spread, I decided to work with a monthly theme because it really just sort of stimulates my creativity. And this month's theme was Show Me a Garden That's Bursting into Life, because really January is about new beginnings, new growth. So I really like this idea of gardens and plants, and I decided to work with this green and pink color throughout the month. So this is my monthly spread, and this just allows me space to be more detailed of the events that's happening throughout the month. And you don't have to do this, but I quite like this idea of a habit tracker. And for instance, I track how many times I exercise, how many times I do something creative, how many times I eat vegetables, because that's very important, and as you can see I don't do it enough. But this really just helps you to keep a track of your habits and see if you need to work on more things. Like I definitely need to eat more vegetables. So this month we also watched The Greatest Showman, which has become my new favorite movie of all time. I absolutely loved it. So I just wrote down one of the quotes from the songs that really resonated with me. I also track my spending. So again, you can use an app for this on your phone, but I try to minimize my phone usage. So this was just a place for me where I could track what I was spending my money on, and I can curb my money spending if I need to in the future. For me, I also like this idea of a sleep and mood tracker because I was going through a stage where I really wasn't sleeping well. I was not falling asleep and I wasn't being able to stay asleep. So this just helped me to track my sleep and maybe see what was potentially causing that, and then also what effect was my sleep and maybe my productivity having on my mood, just so I could, get a hold on what was happening in my life, and trying to be the best, happiest person I could possibly be. Then this is my first weekly spread, so this is probably going to change a lot next month because my weeks aren't dominated by appointments or things that I need, to write in these sections here, but they all sort of have the same layout where I have the weeks and a to-do list, and you can see I've sort of repeated that throughout the weeks. But what I potentially will do is move all of the days of the week onto the one side because I don't need that much space. And then I need more space for my to-do list because I always have so much to do. And then I also really want to put an accomplishments section here because, as I mentioned, your PhD is such a long-term project that sometimes it's difficult to keep track of, what you're actually doing and what you're actually accomplishing. So I want to write down what I do throughout each week so that I can just, it's just a helpful way of seeing, yes, I actually have done something this week and I'm not working towards nothing. And then also I want to put a notes or a brain dump section because most of these things I write throughout are just notes that I make throughout the day, so I'll probably put a notes section there. What I also do is every day I write something that I'm grateful for because I believe that gratitude is a really important mindset to have and it really helps with positivity. And then also I meal plan because if I don't meal plan, I waste a lot of food. So this is the last 3 days of the month that haven't happened yet, and again this was inspired by The Greatest Showman. I loved these lyrics, and this is just one of the images taken from one of the posters. Again, it gave me a chance to use my watercolors and just a bit of end of month motivation to keep going, and I really like the way this turned out. Still getting used to how watercolors work on paper, but yeah, I'm quite happy. Then unfortunately my cookie pen bled through onto the next page even though it was over the paint, but anyway, this is something more sciencey. So every month I get a list of the latest scientific papers that come out in the elasmobranch world, so what's happening with sharks and stingrays, and I go through the list and I just pick out the papers that are most interesting or most relevant to me, and I write them down here and put a little box so I can tick them off as I read them. And then on this side I just like to write down sort of a summary sentence or a sentence of something that I really take away from the paper, just to put my thoughts in one place, because as a scientist you read so much and sometimes it's difficult to remember what you've read, so this really just gives me a place to put sort of a summary sentence so I can keep track of my knowledge base really. So yeah, that was it for this month. As I said, it's probably going to change next month, but I really like the freedom you have with this bullet journal. It can be a daily planner, it can be a journal, so on the next few pages I journaled some memories from early on in the year over the festive season, but this is helping me be a lot more productive, and it's just working really, really well for me. So please let me know what you thought of this video, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you'd like to see more. As always, please subscribe to the channel, like the video if you did like it, and until next time, I hope you all have a happy day.